Hi, my name's Anthony Warner. I am the Angry Chef. I want to talk today about a slightly more controversial subject than some of the other stuff we're doing. I want to talk about food autarky and how that sort of relates to local food. I think most dictators in history have understood the importance of food, because if you're an autocratic sort of dictator, you're doing things that the rest of the world doesn't like, there's a real pressure on you because people can just cut off your food supply if they don't like what you're doing. So most dictators have pushed to create food autarky, to create a complete self-sufficiency in food. And Hitler genuinely believes that they lost the First World War because they lost the home front, because there were blockades which stopped food coming into Germany. People were starving, and his belief was that was what lost Germany the First World War. So when he first came into power, he really pushed for food autarky, for food self-sufficiency. He wanted to change the food system, wanted to change the mix of food that people eat. And out of that came the ideology of blood and soil, and this idea that the only food that German people should eat should be grown on Germanic land, which eventually paves the way for various sort of things that he did in terms of expansion to get more land that he considered Germanic. And Mussolini did the same in his battle for the grain at around the same time. He pushed for food autarky because he understood that was incredibly important for Italy, and destroyed a lot of Italy's traditional agriculture in order to make way for more and more wheat, because wheat was the best crop for self-sufficiency, and destroyed a lot of Italy's olive groves and tomato plantations, and destroyed and vineyards, and destroyed a lot of their culinary history. It's a really problematic thing when people try to do this. And what is important to understand is that I think local food is great. I celebrate local food. I celebrate food that we're good at producing in a certain area. And I think that's a really important thing to do. But I do also think that this idea that you should only eat local food and you shouldn't trade and you shouldn't bring food in from different areas is not a sensible way to run a food system, but is also an ideology which has an extremely poisonous history of xenophobia and of expansionism and of racism, essentially. So we need to be very careful when we talk about local food, that it's more about just celebrating what we grow locally rather than saying we should only eat locally, because that can lead to some pretty dark places.